This
eroding.
conference will now be recorded.
Sorry, Roger, because I walked by there today. There's actually 2 cones, and
Okay,
it's almost like they're sinkholes.
yeah,
I
exactly.
feel yeah.
I am so sorry. We're gonna have to backtrack for a second. For those of you that are listening, I'm doing the technical assistance to this as well, and we got everybody on, and we needed to hit record. So, can we, Carol, walk me through this? Can we go back and quickly review?
Well, if you just say the minutes were approved, was called to order at 7:06, the minutes were approved. Mr. Casey has reported on Public Works Director's information regarding Brewster Pond.
Correct.
They're working on the dam. They have emergency action plan and inspection as a DEEP requirement.
Okay.
At this time, questions have been posed to Mr. Casey.
Great. So my name is Caitlin Shake. I'm the chairperson for the Longbrook Park Commission, the councilwoman for District 2. This meeting was called to order at 7:07. We began with the roll call. We have Mr. Perillo on, we have Ms. Boddington on, we have Mr. Sauls on, and myself, which meets quorum requirements. We had a review of the minutes from the October 2019 meeting, which were approved, moved on to the first item of business, which was the report from our Public Works. Mr. McCarthy is not available, so we have John Casey, who is here from Town Engineering, to give us an update on what is happening specifically with Brewster Pond, and what some of the initiatives and history has been with Town Engineering in that regard. And what was the last thing, Carol?
Problems. He said the inlet has weirs to trap sediment.
Yep.
And John, you want to repeat that? Sediment has accumulated and needs to be pumped out. Then he talked about the pipe from Lachlan Road, the inlet wall from the channel into the pond, 3 levels of treatment, perhaps 4 levels of treatment, high nutrient level in the pond. And Kelly is going to be doing some detailed monitoring. Perhaps adjustments to treatments are necessary. And as now we're questioning Mr. Casey. That's as far as I got, as far as my notes will take me.
You want to add it, Casey?
I think that, that summarizes it. We talked about the treatment, the sediment weirs, this in water sediment bays, the bio basin that's adjacent to the pond, taking the first flush from the channel from Laughlin Road West, and the fountain are the efforts that have been made in the past to try to keep sediment nutrients out of the pond. And then currently we're addressing a question about some erosion or sinkholes at the where is it, at the extension of Laughlin Road?
It's in between Road West and Laughlin Road itself, and it's right where the drain goes down, and there's a walkway that's parallel to the to that drainage.
Right, to that wall, that channel wall.
Yes.
So there are some pipes there, and that wall is also made out of stone. So it's possible that the stone has come out of the wall and we're getting some erosion behind the wall. I'll check into it with the Parks Department.
Okay, I believe, John, that the wall is reasonably intact. It's just that behind the wall, I'm guessing a pipe has become disconnected, and so when any water comes down, It just is eroding behind the wall of the, I'll call it the creek.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds, that very well could be what it is.
Is there any other Martha, did you have a question you wanted to ask? Go ahead.
Nope, it was the same thing that Roger said. So great minds.
And just for Mr. Casey, would you be able to name the company, the organization that the town had contracted with for the algae remediation?
Right now, Kelly's talking to Northeast Aquatic Research. And depending on what their proposal is, if it exceeds our purchasing requirements, we may have to advertise for proposals. If it's within, the reason that they can issue it without a public advertisement, then they would just use them, which is Northeast Aquatic Research.
That's the same company as last year, isn't it, John?
It sounds familiar, but I don't know specifically.
Yeah, I probably if we went back in the minutes, and it's not necessary right now, but if we were to go back in the minutes, the company that was used last year would be in there.
So I think last year they did treatment in the pond.
Right.
But I think Kelly's gonna look for more information before they just start treating, try to get some more study and data behind it before they develop a treatment plan.
Can I read into the meeting, the email that I received from Carrie? Okay. So this was this afternoon. She says to provide a brief summary of our current status regarding the ponds at Longbrook and Motel 2, she would like to offer the following. We typically contract with Solitude to perform treatment of the algal issues at our ponds. In order to provide this treatment, permits are required through Connecticut Deep. She attached the permit application for 2020's treatment in this email. They were dated, I believe, the first week of June. Bill was like June 6th. He's shaking his head. Okay. In the application, you will also find the chemicals that this particular company uses to be applied. She says, from what I understand, this has been a decades-long issue in dealing with poor water quality in these ponds. We are dealing with a rather urbanized watershed with many different inputs to the system. To ensure that this is truly the best option moving forward, I have reached out to the Northeast Aquatic Research to help assess our situation as it relates to the Longbrook Park ponds. I am anticipating a proposal for preliminary assessment by the end of this week. I'm hoping to really quantify our inputs to Brewster Longbrook ponds in an attempt to treat the source of the issue, meaning the stormwater inputs, fertilizer runoff, rather than the outcome, such as the algal blooms. While I was still in consulting, we would often recommend a variety of options in dealing with poor water quality, depending on what the issues are. And then she goes into an example, which is applicable to Brewster Pond. She says implement some sort of fertilizer-free, reduced-use watershed zone. Obviously, that would have to be an honor system from the surrounding residents that live here, whereby we could launch a solid educational program, as Mr. Casey said, on how to responsibly use fertilizer, if at all, installing a littoral shelf to promote emergent vegetation to aid in filtering and nutrient uptake, to remove some lawn areas to preclude water flow congregation, and add areas of riparian, wetland, and or more trees to try and reduce water temperature. She goes on to say that she knows that some of these ideas have been discussed, but I think that that's important for the commission to be aware that we do have elements, and we have people working in town hall for the town that have been working on this issue for a long time. And we're now moving in another direction, like I had stated in the beginning of the meeting, to really try and get to the root cause of how we are, ending up in summertime with these huge algal blooms. So I think we're moving in the right direction. That's my opinion. Yeah. Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to ask Mr. Casey before we move on? Or
Can I just comment on that?
Yeah.
It's always been a frustrating. What's that?
just state your name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bill, 7th District, Bill Perillo. Living in the next district over, a lot of people use Longbrook Park and Pond, and I get calls as much as you do. You maybe get more than me, but it's always been a problem. I'm happy, not satisfied, but I'm happy that Kelly's working in the off season, because these calls come in July, August, June, July, and August when it shows itself. But I'm happy that at least the town was paying attention to it prior to it surfacing. No pun intended there. But yeah, I was hoping for better results last year, in the last 2 years, when I thought the town was going to have a treatment, but I haven't seen anything positive from what we've tried last. So hopefully what Kelly's working on, and the fact that she's working on it in the off season, that I'm encouraged by that.
Okay.
Can I ask
yes,
one thing? Now, how about the fish in the pond? Even though it's green, can people still like fish in there, and have the fish been stocked? Because I've had some people ask me about the fish being stocked, and I don't know how that works or not.
I know that in the past, it was stocked in, I believe, March or early April, when the scouts, the local scouts, had a fishing derby. I don't think it's been stocked in a few years.
Oh, okay. Can the fish live in the green water? Anybody?
I don't know,
Okay.
I haven't seen
So
any
that's
dead
part of the,
fish.
I think if we're
yeah,
not
part of the
talking,
water quality,
go ahead.
part
Oh,
of the
sorry.
water quality from the, when vegetation starts growing and algae starts growing, it starts to eat up the oxygen in the water. So that's a concern, that the fish don't get enough oxygen. And from time to time in the past, you'd come on a hot day and there'd be some fish floating. I don't know if that's the case now. I just know it happened in the past.
Okay. The playground kids down there evidently fish, and they have a good time fishing. However, a couple of my neighbors have mentioned that there's not that many fish, and so we were just wondering about it being stocked. Some people say that they're fishing and they're catching it, but then, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
So I think maybe we can discuss the fish status of the pond maybe under new business briefly, but for DPW, because I think that would be also part of a deep issue, like contracting with deep and knowing what that schedule is. So for the public that's listening in, and for ourselves, I'm hoping that we're not in the same situation a month from now when we have our next meeting, and that Mr. McCarthy will be able, who is the Director of Public Works, to also join us. But unfortunately, again, he was not here because of the storm that we had, and they are out working. But I'm very happy that we were able to have Mr. Casey from engineering to help go over what's been happening structurally and historically, and moving forward with projects. You were referring to the dam for Longbrook Park and the pond. So thank you. Okay. Moving on. We were going to have the report of the Public Safety Director, who unfortunately also is not able to be with us this evening. Mr. Cicerelli, because our public safety director is out there all throughout Stratford assessing all the damage right now as well. So Mr. Perillo, I had asked that Mr. Cicerelli send an update status of 2020 for Longbrook Park. So Mr. Perillo is going to essentially read that aloud to us.
Yep, Bill Perillo, 7th District, and I also sit on the Public Safety Committee.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Bill, just 1 second. We had another caller come on. Can you please state your name?
It must be me. My name is Charles Winchell. I'm in the 2nd District.
Oh, hello, Charles. Okay, thank you. We're just going to put you on mute, dear, okay, until we get through this part of the meeting.
Oh, sure.
All right. Sorry, Bill.
Okay. It was last minute when I heard that Larry was not going to be able to attend. So he gave me a brief update on the call volume. I'll read just the things. And unfortunately, I don't have the detailed incident reports, but he will be happy to clarify if there's any pending questions. But in that time, there was 9 building checks. And what normally happens with the police department is whether they're called request or they're on their regular patrol, the bathroom down there, which kids may hang out at and stuff like that. The cops are going to get out of the car and hang on, let me get the dog out of here. Okay, but they're building checks, so they're not. It's not that there's a concern down there. It's a regular routine building check. There were 3 reported disturbances. I don't have the details on that. Loitering, there was 1 call, and it's usually the residents that call in, which we do have a proactive neighborhood over there. There were 4 ordinance violations, and I was told that they were all for the distancing issue with the COVID, so they're more recent than that, since March. There were 10 walk and talks, which is a part of our community policing. They'll get out. I believe that the playgrounds may be open, and we have a very active police activity league that's not going to be in the police reports, but they're active in all the playgrounds. And we had 2 graffiti reports, and Mr. Ciccarelli said he was happy that when they were reported, Public Works had a quick response and were able to clean up the graffiti, so it wasn't long lasting. And maybe 1 damaged property report. And with all that being said, too, since we're meeting up again, I'm going to encourage Mr. Ciccarelli to attend more meetings outside of today's weather problem. And he's interested in attending more of the meetings. He could take on any questions head on because he'll have the incident reports. But if anyone has a question for me on some of the police routine stuff, I think I could answer a few of it, or we can get an answer for you. But that's pretty much the activity log of Pender's Field and Longbrook Park.
Thank you, Mr. Perillo. And just to comment on that, we do still have, and part of Lenny or Mr. Ciccarelli's report was that they have active patrol units that are out here in Longbrook Park. I live literally right up the street and I see them. They've been very helpful regarding, we're in the middle of a pandemic. I'm a nurse, but I'm going to put my nurse hat on. And we have so many people out in the park. We have baseball activity now as well on the field. And there are people walking around because it is a public health is a public safety issue. But what the considerations of, if we're out in public and we cannot maintain 6 feet, then people need to have a mask on. So that is something I would like maybe to have Mr. Perillo, if you volunteered yourself, if we all agree, right, because we want to keep our community healthy and safe before, especially our school year starts. You had mentioned the playgrounds are open. The playground is open. There are people utilizing the playground. I see it. Splash pad is not. And we have a lot of activity. My only other comment, which could then silo into public sanitation, because the next morning after everybody leaves, I get up super early and I'm driving to work, so I drive past the fields, is the garbage issue. So just encouraging, or if we have to put up a sign, maybe we have to think about additional signs. We have the town campaign, if you will, from COVID, which is think outside of yourself, but some type of activity. It does not have to be a community cleanup. There's so many people now utilizing the park that when people are done, we would hope that they would be respectful and please put their garbage where it's supposed to go. Does anyone have any questions for Bill, Mr. Perillo, that could be passed on to the next meeting from the commission? Nothing? Okay. So the next item of business is our next regular meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 2nd at 7:00 p.m. It's going to be a virtual meeting, same platform. We're not over yet, so I know that there might be people from the public who want to ask questions. But if we had done a in-person meeting today, it wouldn't have happened, right? Because we can't get out and to an outdoor space, which could then be preventative of an inclement weather situation. This time we had a tropical storm, so we will be doing virtual meetings. Town hall, I'm assuming, will probably still not be open to the public for public meetings at that point either. So next we will be on the agenda, moving on to new business. So Carol, if you...
Before you move on, Caitlin,
sure.
I would like to ask why we can't have an in-person meeting, say at the park. I have been attending, I'm on the Arts Commission, and we have been holding our meetings at Shakespeare Park without any issue whatsoever. As a matter of fact, just before I came to this meeting, I was at an arts meeting in the park. And I'm just wondering why we can't do the same thing.
Well, what would we do if it rains?
Well, if it rains, it's obvious we wouldn't have an in-person meeting. But if the weather, like today, the weather is fine. We didn't know that was going to be that way yesterday, but
I was also told, because I asked, and just for clarification, the end of last year, it's required that the commissions set the dates of what their regularly scheduled meetings are. And then by virtue of what's happening right now, the meetings are virtual. So if we were to, let's just say, not have a virtual meeting, the regular meeting would have to be canceled. The notice would have to go out, and then a special meeting would have to be called, which would then have to identify the location. And it wouldn't be able to be changed automatically over to the virtual platform. That's what which is a problem, because then depending on, in my opinion, depending on people's schedules of trying to then get together to have the meeting, I'm happy, I would love to be able to have a meeting in person. If we're down at Short Beach under an awning, I don't care where we do it. If that's available, if it's not being rented, then I'm open to doing that. But, my first and foremost, I just want everybody to be safe.
Can I say, Bill Perillo, 7th District. So I had made this mistake last month at the public safety meeting. We were trying to get the meeting in person. We normally hold our meeting at the police department, and we felt that if a handful of people were able to attend, we would not have the safe distancing. So then we were trying to arrange it at town hall at the last minute, and I guess I dropped the ball, not paying attention to the fact that you have 24 hours to dedicate where your location and time is going to be. So we tried I moved the meeting from 2 locations to a regular go-to meeting here, at the last minute and it's became an unofficial meeting. So I'm not opposed to getting together, but the problem would be if we thought we're going to go outside. I don't know, obviously in room 213, that would be not appropriate for our quorum here in that room. But I'm not opposed to going to Short Beach. It'll probably be open on a Wednesday evening. But if we thought weather was going to be an issue, then what I learned the hard way last month, then it's an unofficial meeting unless you comply within 24 hours of, and Carol probably knows all of that because I'm still new at all this and she's been around.
Well, can I make a comment? Beautification committee was scheduled last night for Shakespeare Park. Obviously, they couldn't go. We still have to keep social distancing there and wear masks. I can't post a notice saying, I'm sorry, this meeting is canceled. I wasn't going to go down there at 5:30 and put a notice on the picnic table overlooking the water. So I had to wait till this morning and file a cancellation notice. Couldn't do it any other way. So there's all that to take into consideration, Roger, to have a
Well,
meeting.
I understand what you're saying, and I understand about the cancellations. And I'm suggesting that as of right now, we could either do it at Short Beach with a pavilion and just plan to be in the pavilion, or the other place with covered seating, I'll call it, is at Roosevelt Forest, because there is a pavilion there now that's covered, and we could be safe from weather, or if it was a nice like tonight, it wouldn't be an issue. But I'd like to suggest that we do have an open air meeting and plan on having it either at Roosevelt Forest or at Short Beach under their pavilions, one or the other.
Are there restrooms at Roosevelt?
I believe there are. I can't say for 100% on that, but I believe there is a restroom area.
Sorry, Roger, go ahead. I thought you were done.
That's a good point. I don't know that there's restrooms up there when we used to train in Roosevelt. The pavilion is beautiful. They got a fireplace and
Yeah,
I enjoy it, and it's a beautiful park that's not getting the most use. But I don't know if they're, obviously at Short Beach, there are working restrooms. So, and there's plenty of pavilion space over there.
then let's go to Short Beach. Let's plan it now.
So Roger, in order to plan, we'd have to cancel the regular meeting. We also have to come up with the agenda. We don't have Mr. McCarthy available to us. We don't have Lenny Citrus. I can't say his last name, Bill.
Ciccarelli.
Thank you. And we're hoping that they can come back so that they can answer questions for the commission and then the public. And in the event that they're not able to, they would just submit a report in case they can't come to the physical meeting.
Are we asking to reschedule this meeting today or a new meeting
No,
for September
a
2nd?
month from now. A month from now, Bill.
In September, that's what Mr. Sauls is referring to.
Oh, okay. So they have
September 2nd.
September 2nd in person. Okay.
Martha, did you want to chime in? You're on mute. No?
No, I'm easy either way, anywhere. I'll do my best to be there.
Sure.
I love the outdoor thing.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
One time it came up about a meeting at a house. And I happened to ask I wasn't sure. I asked the town attorney to bring back to the chairman, if so long as you can provide or allow the handicapped, and was there handicapped accessible restrooms? I know at Short Beach there are.
Mhm.
I don't know about the other places, so.
Thank you.
That's that came up a long time ago, but.
I think
So
in the
that's-
time of, thank you for sharing that. To be perfectly honest, like, because we are living in COVID right now, I don't feel comfortable going to anyone's private home in the event, and I don't think that that would be the most appropriate space for us to utilize. You know, we do have public spaces. We have beautiful public parks here. Some of them have awnings and pavilions that potentially could be utilized. But the goal is to try and have, you know, as many people participate in these meetings. And then to answer questions, because we have the issue with Brewster Pond. I'm hoping that a month from now, when we have our follow-up meeting, a regularly scheduled meeting, we will have an update from what Ms. Carrington is doing, and we have our Department of Public Works, and we will be able to have clarification on a good list of the issues of public safety. And remember that we'll also be moving into the school year, right? So there's going to be more, there's a lot of activity now in Longbrook Park, but I'm anticipating that there will be more activity with families and kids getting together. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. If something changes, you know, we can discuss it via email, but again, that entire process of we'd have to cancel the regular meeting because it's advertised, it's posted that way, and then we would have to call for a special meeting. And the other, just for clarification, when you have a regular meeting versus a special meeting, when you call us, it would be a special meeting. That's how it's listed. That's how it's described. The only issues that we are allowed to discuss are the issues that are on the agenda. We cannot have open, quote unquote, discussions on things that are not listed. So if someone wants to bring something up, like for example, we started to talk about the fish, which has to do with DEEP, not with DPW, we wouldn't be allowed to talk about it and then have it reflected in the minutes as official, quote unquote, business. So it's just something for people to be cognizant of. I'm also new to this too. I haven't been a chair of, you know, any group organization in about a decade since college and whatnot. But you know, these are the rules, and we're trying to respect the process. Was there anything else under new business? I know, Martha, you brought up the fish.
The paddle tennis court, the net is really broken, and then the steps going into the paddle tennis court on the side closest to tennis courts are broken. The rail to go up is off, and they're kind of shaky. So I don't know if that can be addressed.
I'm sorry, it was hard to hear you.
Or not. And there's this huge, large red.
Can you hear me, Martha?
Yeah, everyone is breaking up for me, so it must be me. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Would you be able to repeat yourself, please?
Sure. The net at the paddle tennis is broken. It's broken. And then the steps to get into paddle tennis court on the side by the tennis courts is also broken. The handrail is broken off and it's kind of shaky. And then there's this big red, I think it's like a sledge for the football team, Pop Warner, over where Pop Warner practices, and I feel like it looked broken. I don't know if it's totally broken, but it's this big hunk of metal, and it doesn't look like it's hidden there by the tree, and I don't know if it's like being used or not, but it's not the Stratford High football stuff. It's just kind of this big honking ribbon.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes. Is everybody here? So my question to you is
Everyone can hear me?
the broken. Yep.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay. The broken paddle net next to the tennis court. Any of those issues? Did you notify the Department of Public Works or the mayor's office? No.
I didn't, because I walked through there today. So do you
Oh,
want me to do that?
Oh, no, I just didn't know. I was going to ask if they had a response to you.
No, I didn't yet.
Okay, I'm happy to send that off to the mayor's office. Go down there. Did you take any pictures?
I didn't because I was walking the dogs. I didn't bring my phone,
Okay.
but I can take pictures next time.
Okay. If it's not too dark, I can run down there after.
And then another silly thing that, okay. How about swings? There's a whole frame there that we could hang 2 swings on over, not on the Vicky Soto Park side, the other side. It's just an abandoned swings. Kids love swings.
You want swings? Is that what you said?
Can anyone hear me? That's what I said.
Okay.
Can't hear me? There's a place to hang them, but there's no swings there. No good. Can't hear me, huh?
We can hear you. There's just a delay. That's all.
Yeah. Like the lips don't match the words.
That's correct.
I can hear you. You're spotty.
Okay.
In the past, the issue of the swings, have you brought that to anybody else's attention at all? Just so I know.
I believe I brought it up like last year, but no, I haven't formally called anybody
Okay.
about the swings.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other new business?
No.
Mr. Carrillo, did you want to say something?
No. Just, if there's no new business, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Anyone want to say?
Second.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Motion accepted. Thank you so much, everyone, and I hope you stay safe. Thank you, Mr. Casey, again for joining us. Appreciate it. If you would be able to just send us a synopsis of essentially what you shared with us, and then we can include that in the minutes for this meeting.
Yeah, I can send something to Carol on that.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody. I'm going to stop
Okay.
recording now. Good night,
All right.
guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.